Right, welcome everybody. Welcome to this special event tonight. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, and because in a few minutes we're going to be talking all about Scottsdale and the Sonoran Desert. So yeah, come on in, make yourself comfortable, and once we've got everybody, we'll be going live and start talking. So hope you're all comfy. Got yourselves a cuppa or something stronger. So yeah, come on in, and don't forget to use the chat box. We always love to know who's on tonight. So we've got Roger from Milton Keynes. I know Roger's a bit of a regular on our events, so great to see you, Roger. Zaynep, welcome. And feeling the hot Arizona. Oh yes, wouldn't we love a bit of Arizona heat? Yeah. So we've got people from Northampton, from North London, sunny Portugal. Okay, make us jealous. And hi, lots of familiar names there as well. Yep. And hello, we've got people from Wales, from Surrey, Central London, Shropshire, and Manchester, Bowden, Bedford, and yeah, somebody there mentioned Scottsdale, but people are coming in too quickly now to say, oh, rainy Rochester. Sorry if it's raining in Rochester. Wow. Somebody, Diane from Malta, welcome. And I bet it's nice in Malta at the moment. Glasgow. And somebody in Arizona, Yuma, Arizona. So Wokingham, Toronto, welcome. Yasmin from Algeria, welcome. Dorset, Lincoln, Worcester Park, Edinburgh, Cornwall, the Sunshine Coast of Eastbourne. See, we're very exotic here. Falkirk, Scotland, Leeds. Welcome. Farnham. Sorry. Yeah, so come on in. And Birmingham, Reading, see all the hotspots. Sheffield, Durham. Dublin, welcome. Isle of Man. Denmark, welcome Christian in Denmark. Bournemouth, Bristol, more Edinburgh. We seem to have quite a few Scots on tonight. Southport, Middlesex, Bromley, Telford. We cover the world here. So make yourself comfortable. And I'll be introducing the speakers in a moment. And hello to Catherine, who I met in Georgia. In fact, I travelled with in Georgia. Lovely to see you on here. Oxford, Cambridgeshire. And yeah, we'll be going live in a minute. I think we're just getting a good number in. So welcome, as I say, to this very special evening where we'll be transporting you to Arizona to explore Scottsdale and the Sonoran Desert. And about 30 years ago, I was traveling around the southwest United States, and I must admit, I camped in the Sonoran Desert and paid a fleeting visit to Scottsdale. But, you know, some places really do touch you, don't they? And whenever I hear mention of the Sonoran Desert, I get really excited because it's really stayed in my heart. I just thought it was such a special place. So thrilled that we're doing this tonight. I'm really looking forward to hearing much more about the area and about Scottsdale, which I'm sure I'm going to regret not having spent longer there. So I'm Lynne Hughes, founding editor of Wanderlust, and in a minute I'll be talking and introducing our speakers. But first of all, let's do a quick poll to see whether anybody watching has been to Scottsdale or not. So could you let us know if you've been? Oh, right. We've definitely got people in who've been to Scottsdale. That's brilliant. So we've got some, but we've got probably just over 50% say no, but there's a good 21% say it's they haven't been, but it's already on their wish list. So that's really good to know. So yeah, a real mixture. Terrific. Right. Well, let's just introduce who we have got speaking here tonight. So we're going to be horribly jealous because the person sitting in the sunshine there is Emily Weininger. Emily, now you must be there. You must be in Scottsdale. Where are you?
I am. So I'm actually at one of our hotels. I'm at the Hermosa Inn. So it's beautiful. It's sunny. I'm on a patio. I mean, what can I say?
Oh, we're so jealous. What's the temperature there?
Oh, it's like 70 and sunny. I don't know what that is in Celsius,
70.
but
That's
it's
about,
beautiful.
yeah, I think it's about 18 or 20, isn't it?
I think it's going to be 27 Celsius today. I had to look it up this morning. 27 today.
Oh, so jealous. Oh dear. So Emily was born into a military family, moved around 10 different states, she said, before settling in Arizona to attend university at Arizona State. And Emily worked for a while in Las Vegas, but she's since relocated to Scottsdale, where she works for Experience Scottsdale, overseeing international tourism efforts. And she said she was really pleased to be back in her desert home. And we can already see why. I mean, oh gosh, really jealous. And we're also delighted to have with us this evening Ken Wyatt. And welcome, Ken. And of course, I don't know whether to say good morning or good afternoon to you, because of course, really, it's morning there.
Let's stick with good day, I guess, huh?
Good day. Because what time is it there?
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock here, just past 11 a.m.
Just after 11 a.m. So Ken was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and traveled all around the state as a child. But after a 20-year career in the United States Navy, Ken returned to Phoenix, largely due to his love of Arizona and its natural beauty. Ken's now a tour guide for Stellar Adventures, and he says he's learned so much about the habitat that surrounds him. And in fact, I found out that because Ken spends so much time out in the desert, he hasn't actually been on his laptop for over 2 years. So, so we are particularly privileged tonight. Well, thank you so much for opening your laptop, Ken, and I'm very relieved it's working and everything's fine. So really impressed. Anyway, so yes, we'll be hearing a lot from Ken about the Sonoran Desert. Can't wait for that. And then last but not least, we have Ruby Briggs. Now, Ruby, you're not sitting in Scottsdale, are you?
I'm afraid I'm not. As you can see out of my window in the top corner there's clouds. I mean, it's actually not been a bad day, but I'm in sometimes sunny Leeds, but a long way from Arizona.
No, right now. But you do love Arizona, don't you?
Oh,
yeah.
Close to my heart, yes.
So Ruby's from North America Travel Service, and she joined them in 1976 in an admin role, but her career is developed and she's now the managing director. And North America Travel Service is, of course, one of the UK's leading luxury specialist tour operators to the United States. And one of Ruby's early trips to the USA was indeed to Scottsdale, Arizona, and that was back in the early 1980s. And from that visit, Ruby says it's been one of her favourite places to go to. So great. Really looking forward to hearing from Ruby too. So to tell you what's going to happen in the next hour, you can see our three speakers. We'll be hearing from each of them and sharing their passion for Scottsdale and the Sonoran Desert with us. And don't forget, I know a lot of you, I'm sure, have been on here before. We have got the chat box. So do feed your questions in, because what we will be doing is after our speakers have spoken, we will then be doing a Q&A with them. So do feed the questions in during the evening, and I'll be making a note of them so that I can ask them. We might even answer a few of them as we go along, if we get an opportunity. And one of the Wanderlust team will certainly be in there to help with a few things and maybe share a few useful links. But before we go any further, let's just try another poll, because our speakers would love to know a bit more about you and what you're interested in. So in the next hour, what do you want to know a bit more about? Is it the city, the desert and the outdoors, or actually both? Right, desert and outdoors coming up very strong. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but both. So tying with both, really. And then we have got a few, I think probably got one city person, but other than that, desert and outdoors very strong, and then people interested in both. Thank you for that. That gives us a really good idea of what to sort of focus on. So to get us in the mood, let's have a video. Right. Okay, well, it gave us a bit of a flavour. I'm just so glad it had a happy ending. I was getting a little bit worried there. What we're leading up to. Yeah, terrific. Okay, well, I think that gave us definitely a bit of a feel. I mean, I certainly wanted to be in that hot air balloon for a start. So I think without further ado, why don't we go over to Emily, who's going to give us a bit more of an insight and background into Scottsdale and all the amazing things we can do there. So over to you, Emily.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Thanks for having us, and for all of you in the chat. You know, hopefully you can get out here and enjoy the sunshine too, because it's very nice, I must admit. So, you know, as the video showed, there's lots of different things to see and do in Scottsdale. And we've got some great speakers that can talk more about it. But Scottsdale, you know, just to kind of put it in perspective for those of you who might not be familiar, we're in the central part of Arizona. So about 4.5 hours south of the south rim of the Grand Canyon, about 6 hours from Los Angeles and San Diego, and about 5 hours from Las Vegas, all by car. So really, you know, a great alternative gateway to the American Southwest. This photo that you're looking at is the heart of our city. So it is our city center, which is called Old Town. Not quite as old as probably where you're from around the globe, but Old Town is really special. This is the north side of it. This is our canal system that runs through. So in the early days, you know, Scottsdale was a farming town. It used to actually be called Orangedale because we grew a lot of citrus. You know, we had Native American influence. The canal you see is actually from part of the Hohokam canals back in the early days of Arizona settling. And then we also have been, you know, kind of an escape for celebrities throughout history. So, you know, drawing artists, celebrities, everyone from around the world, including me. As Lynn said, I decided to live here after living all across the US. So as you can see from this photo, there's mountains in the background, there's beautiful sunsets. We really are very fortunate. This next photo takes you to the other side of Old Town. So as you can see, even though this is the city center, it's not typical. We don't really have skyscrapers, and that's very intentional so that you can always kind of see the beauty of the desert that surrounds us. This view that you're looking at is actually of Camelback Mountain. You can only see the hump in this photo. You are actually able to hike it if that's something that you would like to do, but you're kind of looking at the street level of Old Town. I personally took this photo at sunrise, so as you can see, it's just kind of stunning. Scottsdale is extremely walkable. So from the south end to the north end, it's about 1.6 kilometers. I lived on the south. I now live on the north. If I walked between my two apartments, it would take 17 minutes at a leisurely pace. And yes, I timed that because one of my favorite bars is in Scottsdale. So I kind of want to take you down to the street level. So again, as you can see, very, very charming and very, very quaint, but also very cosmopolitan and chic. This particular view that you're looking at is in our arts district. So as I mentioned, you know, artists throughout history and time have come because they, like me, have fallen in love with this beautiful, beautiful city that we're in. Every Thursday night, we actually have a free art walk that takes place. It's on Thursday evenings, and it's incredible because all of these hundreds of galleries we have in Old Town open their doors, bringing in local artists and musicians that they partner with, and you can at leisure just kind of walk around and experience browsing different types of art, whether it's contemporary, Native American, sculpture, paintings, you name it, and we have it all, which is pretty incredible. Flanking one side of the art walk is Scottsdale's Museum of Contemporary Art, which is where this photo is taken. You can also see a really cool ocotillo in the photo. This is one of our world-class museums in which you can see different types of art. It's one of my favorites. What's really special is on those art walk nights that I talked about, they actually offer free admission. So it's kind of a little secret. So if you want to go, definitely, you know, start art walk or end art walk by going to Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art. One of my personal favorite art installations museums we have is actually called Wonder Spaces. So this is from one of their previous exhibits. It's very immersive. They always have an interactive component. Usually it's about 12 or 13 different exhibits, but as you can see, very photogenic, which is always really, really great. actually, the video you saw was another exhibit with the squid soup and all the lights. So again, as you can see, we love our art here. Additionally, we have Scottsdale's Museum of the West, so Western Spirit. This is great for all of you history buffs like me that want to learn about that culture of the United States. So whether it's cowboys, whether it's Native Americans, pop culture, art, whatever it is, Western Spirit is a great option. It's located in that arts district in Scottsdale, and they always have a regular exhibit rotating through. So when they first opened, it was like old Hollywood movie posters. Right now, it's a different type of art. There's interactive pieces, which you can see in my very amateur photos. So this photo on the left that you're looking at is actually a really cool optical illusion. So if you stand in the frame, you can actually look like you're petting the horse. But from the side in this photo, it looks like the horse doesn't even have a head. So I always like to share that. And then the other two photos are actually from the courtyard of the building, again, taking advantage of this beautiful outdoor space with sculptures. They also have a weeping wall, which is pretty incredible because it's a LEED certified building that kind of recycles the moisture from the air and then recycles all the from the AC units and actually waters the gardens around it, which is pretty special. Outside of our arts district and kind of sprinkled around Old Town, we've got lots of little local boutiques and shopping experiences. You know, you can get Native American art and jewelry. You can get a cowboy hat. You can get souvenirs. I always joke because my brother-in-law, I got his Christmas present from one of the stores in Old Town, and it was a little glass that had a cactus that said, "Don't be a prick," because, you know, brother-in-law have to make some jokes. But if you're looking for those, you know, authentic local souvenirs to take home for your friends and loved ones, Old Town Scottsdale is really a great option. We also have Scottsdale Fashion Square, which is going to be all of your retailers, you know, Lululemon, Gucci, and then they've got some other great stores, clearly. This is another photo of a different point of view in Scottsdale. So this is in that you know, the shopping district, Fifth Avenue. It's me and my sister, just to show you a different perspective. As you can see, still low to the ground, still has that public art. And really, it's just a great place to kind of walk around. Outside of that, we have more public art. This is on the back side of Western Spirit. This is my personal favorite, so that's why I had to put it in the slide. Throughout the day, it actually changes colors. So as you're in Old Town, you obviously can walk by foot, you can self-guide, but we have great operators that can provide tours for you, whether it's on golf cart, whether it's on segways, bicycles, we have food tours, all of the above. So really great ways to see the different walkable districts of Old Town Scottsdale. We also have some really great events throughout the year. So just kind of tying in more of that art connection. This is one of my personal favorite events, so I had to mention it. This is called Canal Convergence. This photo is a couple years old, hence the crowds, but it's really special because they have huge installations 2 times a year in the fall and in the spring, in which they bring in these huge art installations. This year, they actually still had the event. They just modified it a little. They kind of separated the exhibits throughout all of Old Town. So these were 2 of some of my favorites. The photo on the left, the flowers actually opened and closed, which was really cool. And then the photo on the right, it actually changed neon colors continuously at different times. Scottsdale does have annual events kind of year round. We have the Art Walk, obviously, but then we also have Waste Management Phoenix Open if you like golf. We have Barrett Jackson, which is a car auction. The Batmobile was sold there one year when I went, which was pretty cool. We also have the Arabian Horse Show and the Parada del Sol Rodeo. So lots of great events throughout Scottsdale. But my favorite is the food that we have. So we have over 800 restaurants in Scottsdale. That includes restaurants within resorts, outside of resorts, in Old Town, outside of Old Town. We have really, really good Mexican food. This is tableside guacamole at the Mission. I love their vegetarian tacos and fish tacos. So definitely had to highlight that. But we also have other really unique American food that pulls influences from around the world. This salad, and hear me out, I know salads are usually not that exciting, is by far the best salad I've ever had in the world. The mix of textures with the salmon and the couscous and the pepitas and the currants, it is incredible. Very photogenic, as you can see. You can get this down in Old Town at Citizen Public House if you're interested. It is incredible. And then we also have some really great restaurants that even I haven't gotten to go to yet. This is actually F&B. It's a James Beard award-winning chef-led restaurant. It's vegetable forward. It's local. Incredible food, as you can see. And then going back to that Instagrammable moment, we also have the Brussels sprout nachos at Diego Pops with the fried egg on top and the beet crema, which, I mean, if your mouth isn't watering, I'm probably going to go and get these after today's event just because they're incredible. So lots and lots of food. Come with an appetite. I didn't mention it, but we also have some really good margaritas and some other great things that you can maybe have a libation as you enjoy food on the patio or inside. And to kind of wrap up what else you can find in Old Town, on the left, this is a photo of me and my mom at the Rusty Spur Saloon. It's actually Scottsdale's original bank. So it's pretty cool because they don't have beer on draft. It's all stored in the old bank vault. So I always like to say it's a little bit of liquid gold that you can enjoy. They actually do live country music every night of the week. It's super small, but it's super fun, and you really get that Western culture. And then the photo on the right is actually one of our 6 Arizona wine tasting rooms. So we have 2 wine growing regions in Arizona, and we are fortunate enough that we can just kind of walk and go and sample and taste all of them. We also have some really great nightlife available. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask that in the chat, but anything from, wine and local wine and beer to more of a nightlife experience with bottle service when we're under, non-COVID times, of course. Outside of Old Town, we do have some other really great attractions. This is Frank Lloyd Wright's Taliesin West. Frank Lloyd Wright is the famous architect behind buildings such as the Guggenheim, as well as other iconic buildings in the US. He is Scottsdale's original snowbird. So this is his winter home. It served as an architectural school. They do tours daily that are guided. I absolutely love it, because I love architecture, and truthfully, it's all tour led, or local guide led. Sorry about that. So these are photos I took on some of the tours I've been on. I love going every time I learn something new, because each of the tour guides, they volunteer, they love the history, they love the location, and they actually can talk through different parts of Frank Lloyd Wright's life. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. Whether it's his love life or his building or his school, but you always get to learn about Taliesin West and what makes it so special and what makes him so special as an architect. Beyond that, we also have Consanti. So Paulo Solari is an artist who, as I mentioned, came to Scottsdale. He's famous for these bronze bells, which you also saw in the video. And so you can actually visit this studio in central Scottsdale. And then we also have the Musical Instrument Museum located in the north part. I personally love this. It's pretty incredible. You get headphones when you enter the museum, and then it's all arranged by continent and then by country. So you can go and listen to music throughout history from the world. As you approach these exhibits, the music starts playing. They have an artist gallery. They used to have the piano that John Legend composed Imagine on. Those rotate out as artists lend more products. So highly, highly recommend. It's such an incredible experience. Great for kids too, because there's an interactive component. They can just play. Going back to our roots, we do have a really strong tie into the Native American culture in the Southwest. At the Hyatt Regency, one of our luxury hotels located here in Scottsdale, they actually do Native American hoop dancing live on their patio. That's what this photo's from. It's really an incredible experience. It's Friday nights at the Hyatt. And then we also have more ties into the local community, again, through art and other aspects. This is the Ondas, another one of our hotels. They have a partnership with a local art compound called Cattle Track. And as a guest of the hotel, you can actually do interactions. They bring in the artists. You can go to their art studios. So really just always tying back into that local culture, making us such a unique destination. because we have this beautiful weather, because we have to be outside and look good year round, you know, that's why I say we have really, really strong spa and wellness programs. So you can see that you can be outside doing yoga. We've got, you know, guided meditation. We have nature hikes. We have ways you can learn about desert botanicals. And then we have some traditional spas if you just need a deep tissue massage. Majority of our spas throughout Scottsdale incorporate that indoor-outdoor element. I love spas. I'm slowly making my way through every single one of them because it is incredible to do. So if you need a break post-COVID and you want to make yourself feel a little better, make sure you come to Scottsdale, book a spa treatment. You will not be disappointed whatsoever, I promise. And then we have our outdoors. So, you know, something that we're very fortunate to have is the Sonoran Desert. And I don't want to steal Ken's thunder because I know that he's going to teach you everything that I now know about the desert in Scottsdale. But this is a photo of the Desert Botanical Garden. It's a good introductory to the desert. They do self-guided tours. If you needed a tour, you could set one up. But the reason I always recommend it is because in the summer, they do a flashlight tour program. So desert plants are really smart. They know that it can get hot sometimes, so they bloom at night. So these are some photos I've taken when I've gotten to do the flashlight tour. And the photo on the right is one of those blooms that, you know, only in the very, very early morning are you able to see it. So really, you know, getting into the outdoors, we have over 330 days of sunshine year round. It's stunning. Right now we're in our peak season, you know, it's like sunny and 75 degrees Fahrenheit every day, but it does swing throughout the year. So in the summer, so June, July, August, it can get up to say 40 degrees Celsius. Not every day. There's no humidity. I promise you it makes a difference. You can just have a margarita by the pool during the peak temperatures, but everything stays open year round. So everything that I've talked about, everything you can do, really, we are a year-round destination. Our hotels also, so we have over 70 hotels in Scottsdale, anything from a 10-room boutique hotel up to 700 rooms. They actually switch their rates. So as the temperatures go up, the rates go down. So if you guys are traveling in the summer, you know, you can maybe stay at that 4- and 5-star hotel a little longer and soak up that sunshine a little bit. We have beautiful seasonality. So spring, you can see wildflowers and blooms, and really, you know, it's so welcoming. It's so diverse. It's stunning. I don't have a picture of it because I'm terrible at it. Ruby can talk about it, but we also have a lot of really great golf. So if you're a golfer, we have 51 premier courses, over 200 in the area. Desert golf is what we're known for. It's challenging. It takes like 4.5 hours for a good golfer. Me, I hit myself with my own golf ball, so I'll just leave golf at that point. Throughout every season of Scottsdale, you can get out and go hiking. We're very fortunate to have what's called the Mcdowell Sonoran Preserve. It's the largest urban preserve in North America. What that means is it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of free hiking trails, anything from ADA accessible up to full day hikes. It's really a great way to get outside and see that beautiful desert. We do have operators that can take you through it by foot or on bike or even by horseback if you want. We do have a video we'll show you after my presentation, which is pretty cool to look into the preserve. Here's some photos I've taken hiking. The picture on the right is actually Sunrise Trail in the preserve. It's my favorite. It's a very challenging. You get a good workout in, but then you can go have a lovely brunch with mimosas and then really burn off a lot of calories and see the views of all of Scottsdale. You can see Camelback from this hike. Highly recommend it. Really just have to show off my desert while I can because it's stunning. But there's other things to do besides just hiking and biking. So hot air balloon riding is one of my favorite experiences. First time I ever did one was actually here. You know, it's incredible. They have it at sunrise and sunset, depending on what time of the year, but sunrise is year round. So if you're fighting that jet lag and you're already going to be up with the sun, why not take a really serene hot air balloon ride across the desert? You're going to get a mimosa. You're going to get breakfast. It's absolutely incredible. Highly, highly recommend it. Definitely book it in advance, though, because you want to make sure you have your spot in the basket. And then this slide, you know, it's a lot to take in, but these are some of my other favorite experiences outside of the hot air ballooning and hiking. So on the left, this is kayaking the Salt River. You can see wild horses. It is such a relaxing and beautiful experience. The The middle picture is one of our stargazing tours. I took this photo out of a telescope and it was that clear, which is just still stunning to this day. I learned about constellations. I learned my favorite stars are named Debden and Alberio. I'm going to name like future pets after it. And then the photo on the right is an ATV tour. So I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I absolutely love going out and going as fast as I can, as safely as I can, out in the Sonoran Desert among the saguaro. And then, of course, back to our Western roots, we also have some really great Western experiences, such as horseback. This photo just always shocks me. I'm always surprised how beautiful our desert is, but the photo on the left is a little less, glamorous, but that's me on the back of a horse near Saguaro Lake. And then the photo on the right is actually the first time I ever saw wild horses in Scottsdale. And this photo is actually when I took Ken's tour 3 years ago, who you're going to be hearing from a little later. And seriously, everything I know about the desert, I learned from that man on that one tour. So with that, I look forward to sharing this video about the Mcdowell Sonoran Preserve before you learn about the desert.
When I moved here 13 years ago, all I'd ever been told about the desert was it was a dry and barren place. And if you come out here and see the Sonoran Desert, I can't imagine being anywhere else. It's amazing to think that this place has been here for over 1.6 billion years. The preserve's almost 49 square miles. That's larger than the city of San Francisco. That's larger than Washington, D.C. And it's right here and only in Scottsdale. It's the most diverse desert in the world. It's the only desert in the world that gets rain twice a year. Because of that, our biodiversity is so abundant that you can't see anything like this anywhere else in the world. Nearly 30 years ago, a group of citizen activists with the Mcdowell Sonoran Conservancy got together and said, we need to save our beautiful Mcdowell Mountains. And thanks to that effort, we now have the largest urban land preserve in North America. We have over When I moved here 13 years ago, all I'd ever been told about the desert was it was a dry and barren place. And if you come out here and see the Sonoran Desert, I can't imagine being anywhere else. It's amazing to think that this place has been here for over 1.6 billion years. The preserve's almost 49 square miles. That's larger than the city of San Francisco. That's larger than Washington, D.C. And it's right here and only in Scottsdale. It's the most diverse desert in the world. It's the only desert in the world that gets rain twice a year. Because of that, our biodiversity is so abundant that you can't see anything like this anywhere else in the world. Nearly 30 years ago, a group of citizen activists with the Mcdowell Sonoran Conservancy got together and said, we need to save our beautiful Mcdowell Mountains. And thanks to that effort, we now have the largest urban land preserve in North America. We have over 650 volunteers. They patrol every mile of the 225 miles of trails. They repair the trails whenever they're needed. They greet people at the trailheads to make sure that people are safe while they're out there, also provide input on where people can go and how they can have a great time. There's always a new place to explore. The work that we do out here, not only stewarding the desert for everyone to enjoy, but also the scientific research to discover more about how we can live in it, and as well, educating our future generations and youth on the importance of taking care of this wonderful resource and to be stewards of their own land for the future.
Right. Apologies for the technical glitch. I see a few people commenting in the box. Yes, there was a problem. So can I please ask the presenters, to make sure you don't hit any keys when any videos are playing, because we do think there was something was hit. But never mind. We managed to replay it. Thank you so much, Emily, as well. That was absolutely fascinating, and I love the fact that we had birds tweeting as well while you were talking to add to our jealousy. Brussels sprout nachos, though. Yeah.
They're so good.
Really? Because I love Mexican food. I love nachos, and I do like Brussels sprouts. I've never really thought of putting them together, though.
It's good. It's good. And the egg on top, and it just like the yolk. Oh, so good.
Oh, really? Oh, no, it sounds wonderful. Well, yeah, no, there was lots of fascinating stuff there, including the museum. So, like I said, I do think I would definitely want to spend a few days there. I mean, we're going to do questions, obviously, at the end anyway, but what would you think would be the minimum time somebody should spend in Scottsdale?
At least 2 nights. And I would say more than that, but at least 2, and that's like the bare minimum. If you only stay 1 night, you're doing yourself a disservice because all of those things I talked about, you won't get to experience. I always recommend 4 nights. Our average length of stay is 3.7. So I'm right on the money with my recommendation. So you could stay up to 2 weeks if you wanted to, because there's enough to see and do, definitely.
Yeah, I think that was a surprising thing for everybody, just how much there was. And we loved the atmospheric photos and the sunsets. And I see that somebody called Geraldine said the sunsets are amazing. And, of course, before we went live, you and Ken were telling me about last night's sunset and how amazing it was. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I took a photo like walking. I have like, I think 100 photos on my phone of sunsets just because all the time I'm like, oh, another one.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. And obviously you'll be joining us again in a bit for the Q&A. So now I can't wait. We're going to hear from Ken all about the Sonoran Desert.
All right. Well, good. Hello, everybody. I've been asked to tell you about the desert today. We're going to start off with this picture of the sunrise. We always hear about our sunsets because that's when everybody's awake to see them. But for those early risers, we have some great sunrises. Let me get into the Sonoran Desert. The Sonoran Desert is over, excuse me. Sonoran Desert covers pretty much the southern third of Arizona and the top of the country of Mexico. What makes a desert, of course, is the amount of rainfall you get each year. That's what makes Antarctica the largest desert in the world. What makes our desert so unique is we have huge amounts of water underneath our desert. We have large aquifers under the southern Arizona and the northern Mexico, country of Mexico. So we have the most lush desert in the world. We have more plant life and animal life than any other desert. Of course, the number one topic of our desert is always our saguaro cactus, the tall ones. The saguaro cactus only grow natively in the Sonoran Desert, so you won't see them growing anyplace else in the world. So when you're watching those old westerns, if they have the saguaro cactus, you know they were filmed in Arizona. We have over 120 different types of plants and cactus in our desert. Of course, I'm not going to have time to talk about all those today. But I would like to tell you a little more about the saguaro cactus. The saguaro cactus is 75 to 100 years old before it grows its first arm. And then some people will tell you to add 10 or 15 years for each additional arm, but that's by no means set in stone. There's really no rhyme or reason to how fast or how often they grow their arms. And sometimes a cactus will grow twins, triplets, even quadruplet arms at the same time. When they do that, though, the arms will come out at the same height on the main trunk and grow the same height as they grow older. So that's how you can tell if they were a twin or a triplet. You'll never see 2 saguaros the same. This one here is a picture I took a few years ago. I was going down a little back road on my motorcycle, and I passed this and almost broke my neck looking at it. This one is pretty good size compared to most of them. This one's been around for quite a while, as you can see. The Native Americans would use just about every bit of the saguaro in their culture. They would use the skin for rafters and the wooden water tube to create the skeleton. They would use those to make ladders and make tools for harvesting the fruit off the top of these arms. Another cactus I'd like to tell you about is this one here. This is the chain fruit or hanging fruit choya. It's named for those kind of a grape-looking fruit that's hanging down at the bottom. Native Americans would use this fruit. They would boil these fruit up in like a mash, and they would let that dry. and that was a travel food they would use, a to-go food. I have been told, however, we do not want to eat these raw. I'm told they will clean you out very well. That's the only other thing the Native Americans use this particular plant for. Now this here is a cousin of that chain fruit. This is the teddy bear choya. The teddy bear choya is your worst enemy out here. This is the one they call the jumping cactus. While it doesn't actually jump out at you, that's a myth. But the reason people swear it does is every spine on there, and the reason it looks so fuzzy and so furry, is this cactus has 30% more spines than any other cactus. And every spine on there has a little barb on the end of it like a fish hook. So if you're walking through the desert and you barely touch your clothing, that barb's going to catch, shake that bush, and half a dozen of those pods are just going to fall off. And they're laying down your arm or your leg. It's the beginning of a really bad day. As they go in, they don't like to come out. So you got to pick them out with little tweezers or pliers, and it's a special day. But here's the crazy thing. That cactus is also your best friend. If you're stuck in the desert without water, that's where you get your drinkable water. While I can't actually show that to you today on this in the video, if you come out one of my tours, I'll show you how you do that. But basically, every cactus in our desert stores water in it. But every other cactus pulls all its water in through the ground and makes pulls in all the alkali and the minerals, makes the water undrinkable for us. The teddy bear choya gets all its water out of the air through the spines. So you can knock one of these pods off and burn the spines off of it, and you'll have what I like to call a desert pickle, desert cucumber. That's kind of what it looks like. And you cut that down the middle, it's got the consistency of a kiwi. Pretty neat stuff. We also have a large population of animals in our desert, of course. Actually, let me back up. Before I get to those, let me talk about some of the flowers we have. Our springtime out here is absolutely beautiful. This is the Hedgehog Cactus. These flowers are so bright they almost look like they're self-illuminated in the daytime. They're one of our first flowers to bloom, and they hold their blossoms till nearly the end of the season. This is the prickly pear cactus. It's the flowers that they have. Another closer look at the prickly pear. We have just about every cactus in our desert produces a flower during the springtime. And most all the bushes, it actually gets amazingly colorful out here in the spring. Our Saguaro cactus flowers, as Emily mentioned, a lot of our desert flowers will open at night. You see all those flower pods on the end of that trunk there. Well, only 3 or 4 of those will open, and they'll open at night, and they close by noon the next day. If while they're open, they're pollinated, which they usually get pollinated by bats at night, then those will close down and become a fruit. And then the next day, some different ones of these pods will open up. So you can have the possibility of anywhere from 10 to 30 fruit on the top of each one of the saguaro arms. And as you see, they all produce their flowers and fruit. Lots of wildflowers, lots of ground cover flowers out here. So again, it just gets amazingly colorful in the springtime. And of course, a lot of our desert flowers become fruit. This is the barrel cactus fruit. It's edible. It's a little bit of a tangy flavor. Our saguaro fruits, you can see how the white flowers have turned into red fruits at this point. They're also very flavorful, but they're hard to get to, and the birds usually get to them before we do, to be honest. This here is the prickly pear cactus and its fruits. These are very popular. A lot of people make candies and jellies out of these. Matter of fact, guys, a lot of people are making prickly pear margaritas around town. I highly recommend them. They're really flavorful. Now let me talk about a little bit about the animals we have out here. We have the full range of animals in our desert. Starting small, we've got a lot of rodents, field mice, pack rats. This little guy's my favorite, the kangaroo mouse. As you see, the kangaroo mouse has long back legs, little short front legs, and hops around like a kangaroo. It also has a pouch like a kangaroo, but it doesn't carry its young in its pouch. When it's out shopping for food, it uses it as a shopping cart till it gets home. The coolest thing about the kangaroo mouse, though, is it will go its entire life and never taste water. It gets all the water out of the plants that it eats. It doesn't require water. We also have a lot of chipmunks and ground squirrels like this little guy. We see them on the trail almost every day. A lot of rabbits, jackrabbits, cottontail rabbits. We have red-tailed fox out here. We have skunk. Of course, I've never been any place that doesn't have skunks, and none of them know how to cross a highway. We have a lot of our javelina, our little wild pigs. We see them quite often. Even though we call them a wild pig because they look just like a small version of the big boars of the southeast, these are actually a large rodent. They're a cousin of the capybara, that big rodent in South America that goes about 100 pounds. Going up from there, we've got bobcats, mountain lions. Mountain lion is probably the top predator. We also have desert mule deer. Here's a nice little shot I got out in the desert of 6 little desert mule deer sitting there staring at us. We have white-tailed deer in the desert. And up on some of our canyon walls every now and then, we'll see a bighorn sheep. Matter of fact, let me show you a picture here I got a couple of years ago. But I was so focused in on zooming in on this bighorn, to tell you the truth, I didn't even really notice till I got home that there was a bobcat up on a mountain right above it. Yes, sometimes you just get really lucky with a photograph. We also have lots of different types of birds. Of course, here's our road runner, and we have lots of coyotes out here too, so just in case you're wondering. But we have, and this picture here is a couple of our Harris hawks. They formed a nest in the cactus. And here's a bighorn owl, a gray owl that is sitting in our cactus. A couple bald eagles. We have bald eagles and golden eagles in this area. And as Emily mentioned, we have a lot of wild horses. We have about 350 head of wild horses in the area. Most of the time they'll band up into groups of anywhere from 6 or 8 up to maybe 30 in a group. They were, of course, originally introduced to the Americas by the Spaniards in the 1600s, and of course, some of them got away and have just intermixed in our desert, and then the Native Americans raised them, and now we have a pretty good population out here. And as you can see, they're healthy. They thrive in our desert. They're protected, so nobody bothers them, and it's always a wonderful thing to see them. Here you see them down by one of our rivers. There are lakes. They go in there and cool off in the summertime and get their drinks. And of course, the one thing that I'm always asked about is reptiles and snakes. We do have a lot of reptiles in our desert. We've got, this is a Gila Monster. This is one of our larger lizards. They go anywhere from about 18 inches to 2 feet long. As you can see, they're quite colorful. You can definitely notice them. While these are not poisonous, they do have a mouth full of bacteria. So most of the people that ever get bit by them, which is very rare, you almost have to put your hand into one to get bit. I think the people who's gotten bit have been trying to catch them. But most of the people that do end up in the hospital with an infection from the saliva of this animal, more so because it doesn't really have a venom like a lot of people think. Another one of our little lizards. We have multiple types of lizards out here. This is a chuckwalla. This is another one of our larger lizards. This goes about 18 inches in length. And depending on where you're at and where they're at, they'll either have a light pinkish color on the bottom or sometimes a blue bottom, just depending on where they're at. Another one of our little lizards here. See that guy there, how well camouflaged he is? That's one of our horned toads. It's a thornback lizard. And of course, our diamondbacks. We're constantly getting questions about snakes. Well, let me tell you, folks, while we do have thousands of snakes in our desert, they're not something you really have to be afraid of. I think the latest stats I've seen is 2018. But in 2018, in Maricopa County, which we have over 5 million people and hundreds of thousands of guests that come each year, hundreds of thousands of people out hiking and playing in our desert. In 2018, we had less than 50 snake bites all year long. So it's really not a problem. What most people don't realize is the last thing that a rattlesnake wants to do is to bite us. It takes them 3 or 4 days to make their venom. And they know if they bite us, that they're going to go without lunch for a couple days. So they'll sit and rattle for over an hour just to keep you from away from it. So while we sometimes see them like this, most of the time that's what we see. The rattlesnake just crawling away from us. So again, they're really not something that you have to worry about. Yeah, I wish I had more time to continue to tell you about the desert, but we are a little limited today. So I would like to invite you guys, if you get to Arizona, come out and see me with Stellar Adventure on one of our tours. We have guided tours on ATVs, UTVs, or the ones I do in the Hummers, which that way you can just sit back and if you want, you can drink a beverage as you go along, and I'll show you and teach you all the neat things about our desert. With that, I'd just like to go into a little video that'll show a little bit of what we do, and I want to thank you and hope to see you in the desert.
Oh, Ken, gosh, that brought back for me so many memories. Yeah, that incredible wildlife. I loved the javelinas. I mean, they are just terrific. And I didn't realise, I don't think, that they're not actually pigs, that they are related to capybaras, so they're rodents.
Yeah, everybody calls them our wild pigs because that's just what they look like. They literally look exactly like the big boars of the southeast, a little version. They got a little tusk on the, and everything, but they're actually a big rodent.
Yeah, no, who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? So much fascinating wildlife, and of course the fauna as well. But somebody asked about scorpions, and are there many scorpions? How many types of scorpion?
We do have scorpions. I mean, literally, most times a year, if somebody wants to see one, I can kick over a rock and find them for them.
Okay.
But that's it. In the daytime, when it's hot out, they're hanging out under rocks. They come out at night and do their business. Scorpion bites aren't really an issue, so to say. I mean, I used to catch them when I was a kid, so I've been stung by them a couple times years back. One time was like a bad bee sting, and one time was a little bit worse. But they don't, unless you're really elderly and sickly or a baby, they usually don't cause any severe problems.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And also, you mentioned at the end about the tours. I mean, I think we all want to go out into the desert with you now. I mean, are they, just give us some idea. I mean, are the tours like 1 hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days, 3 days? What sort of length and type of tour are we talking about?
Well, we will pick you up at your resort or your hotel, and it's about 4 hours door to door. It'll take about 45 minutes to an hour to get out to the desert. Mm-hmm. Then we'll do a couple hours touring through the desert, whether it's an ATV, UTV, or the Hummer tours. And then, again, 45 minutes, an hour to get back to your resort.
Okay, so a nice kind of half day, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds really.
If you have any, large groups that are interested, we can also do things like follow up an afternoon tour with a desert cookout out in the middle of the desert. So we have a lot of options. Look at our website and come and see us.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really good. Okay, well, we'll be seeing you again then for the Q&A in just a few minutes. But first of all, we're going to have a short presentation from Ruby, who of course is from North American Travel Services. So over to you, Ruby.
Thanks, Lynn. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. As Lynn explained at the beginning of this evening, I feel as if I've always been in the travel industry. I joined North American Travel Service in 1976. Some people have joked that I probably was only 6 years old when I joined, but I came straight from college, and I didn't really know much about travel at all, other than package holidays to the Mediterranean at the time. And I soon became interested in the sales side of it, because as I joined as an admin and secretary role. But I was intrigued by my colleagues booking flights and hotels for people all over the world. So I kept wanting to find out more about that side of the business. Long story short, in 1979, I became the sales manager of one of our shops. We continued to grow the business, and in 1985, 6, 7, something like that, I became sales and marketing director. And then ultimately in 2004, managing director of the business. So I've seen through so many progressions. When I first started, to book an airline seat, you had to pick up the phone and ring the airline. Now everything, of course, everybody's got computers on the desk. So from that point of view, I've seen massive changes within the travel sector. But the passion for the United States and Canada has become really so much a part of my, not just my career, but my personal life. And over the years, for example, when we had 9/11 happen, lots of people said to us, why don't you diversify? Why don't you sell somewhere else in the world? I can't. I haven't got a passion for anywhere else in the world. It's North America. And I swear that if you cut me in half, that's what you would see. It would, like a stick of rock, it would say USA and Canada. So I strongly believe that passion has to be part of the, not just the individuals that you're talking to, but the staff in our offices, all have that passion. We sell nothing else. We're not a regular travel agent. We sell just the USA and Canada. And all of our team have traveled to the States many, many times. It's important that they have that first-hand experience. Otherwise, they can't sell that holiday. They can't create that holiday for you. So established 50 years ago, that's our 50th year. Who would have thought we would celebrate our 50th year at the end, coming towards the end of a pandemic? The experience that our staff have, and many of them have been with us for at least 20 years, some over 30 years, is invaluable. And lots of people say, well, why would I book with North American Travel Service and not go online and do, book my flights and book a hotel? That answer is very, very simple. You don't get the experience if you book online. You don't have that first-hand knowledge, the tips and the understanding of the time of year to go and the things to see and do when you get there. Not only that, it's not just the pre-travel sale. It's whilst you're there if you need any help. And we've gone through so many issues, whether it be ash clouds, events such as the pandemic, when we had to repatriate so many people from the United States, when borders started to close down. We are at the end of a telephone. We're not a link on a website that you can't physically speak to anyone. We're always there for all our customers. So it starts with the inquiry. We're there all the way through to the time that you come home. And we have so many repeat customers over the years that just continue to explore different parts of the States or keep going back to the same part of the States, depending on what their individual passions are. Another great reason and very important reason for booking with a tour operator like ourselves is financial protection. And again, that's been very highly flagged over the course of the last 12 months. Your holiday will be financially protected under our Civil Aviation Authority licensing. So you don't have to worry about paying a deposit, because obviously when you pay the deposit to us, or even when you pay the balance of the holiday to us, you're not actually getting the product until you start to travel out there. So it's important to know that you've got that financial protection. As I explained, a lot of our team have traveled, all our sales team have traveled to the States numerous times. My first visit to Scottsdale was in 1984, and I actually went on a hot air balloon ride, which is part of the reason I fell in love with the desert. To see the desert from the sky, from any aspect, but from the sky, the immenseness of it is just breathtaking. I think it was actually on a Thanksgiving early evening, and as we were sailing above the desert, there were pods of families just in the middle of the desert having their Thanksgiving dinner. It was just something you'll never see anywhere else. The Sonoran Desert that both Ken and Emily talked about, and the Mcdowell Mountains, are just incredible places to be. Whether you're an experienced hiker and you want that heart-pumping experience, or you just want to go out for a fairly leisurely walk, there are trails in the Sonora, in the Mcdowells, for every level of ability. And my passion for Scottsdale resulted in me buying a house there 10 years ago. That's how passionate I am about the destination. And I just love when I'm out there to get up early in the morning, go out for a hike in the McDowells, stop halfway, have a bite to eat, something to drink, and then get back, have breakfast. And that's one of the best ways to start the day. The next best way to start the day is a round of golf. And Emily touched on how many golf courses there are in the Scottsdale Valley. Desert golf is like no other type of golf. I am not a good golfer. I'm a very enthusiastic golfer, but I can raise a giggle many a time on the golf course. Some of my favorite courses are in the Scottsdale Valley area. No course is the same as the next. They all have their own individual types of challenges, but it's a fabulous way to spend an early morning. Again, it's in the summer months. If you're there, you have to be out there early because it gets very hot and it becomes a little bit too much to start swinging a club at 12 o'clock when the sun's at its highest. Golf buggies are always used. Very, very rarely do you get to walk the course, so you don't have to worry about walking in the heat. And as Emily explained earlier, it's a very dry heat, so it's far from oppressive. And the green fees are pretty much next to nothing when it comes to the summer months. You can get a great round of golf in a fantastic course for $50, $60, sometimes less. So it's not for everybody. I realize not everybody plays golf, but for those that are avid golfers, you just have to spend some time there. And talking about spending time there, Emily said an average of 3.6 days is the stay that you get in Scottsdale. There's enough there to keep you there for 2 weeks. Seriously, you can combine Scottsdale with all those places in the Southwest and make a 2-3 week holiday out of it, getting different experiences. Or you can just spend more time in Scottsdale to do everything there is, or a lot of what there is to do. It's also a great base to do all the Canyonlands areas of Arizona. So it's just up there when it comes to a #1 destination for whether it's families, couples, young people, older people, golfers, spa people that love spas, dining. The lifestyle is just sensational. So that kind of sums up my passion for Scottsdale, for travel generally, a little bit about North American Travel Service. So hopefully I've put a little bit more of an appetite in there to add to Emily's and Ken's presentations. I'm going to hand back to Lynne now to, I think, start taking all the Q&As.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ruby. I mean, I think it's the first Wanderlust webinar I've been on where somebody has said they love the place so much that they bought a house there. So, yes, you obviously are the expert to come to, Ruby, because, I think that passion really comes over. So we've had a few questions. Before we go to that, because I know a few people are having to leave and sending messages, just I should have said, we will be sending out a recording of this evening, so don't worry if you do need to go and get your dinner on or something, because we are sending out a full recording, including the questions, and there will also be all the links. So, for instance, people were asking Ken for the link of Stella, for instance. So, yes, we will be sending out with the link for the video for tonight. We will also have the necessary links and some of the places that we've mentioned and so on as well. So don't fret if you do need to leave. But let's try and rattle through a few questions. So I'm going to come straight back to you, actually, Ruby, because we just want to know, I think, the basics of how to get there. I mean, if we're flying from the UK, because majority of people on tonight are from the UK, where would we fly from and to, and how would it happen?
You've got a choice, Lynne. There is a direct service out of Heathrow to Phoenix, which is the major international airport that serves the Scottsdale area. From Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport to Scottsdale, you're talking about, even to North Scottsdale, 35 minutes tops. The road system is extremely easy to follow.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to fly from Heathrow, you can fly from any of the regions via another gateway. So whether it's Chicago or Denver or New York or Boston, all the gateway cities in the US on the east seaboard and the mid areas have got services into Sky Harbor.
Terrific. Oh, that sounds great. So we've got lots of choice by the sounds of it. That's brilliant. And Emily, what about getting around once we get there?
So I always recommend having a car, just because to kind of get out into the desert and visit everywhere, it helps to have a car. You absolutely can get Ubers and Lyfts and taxis, and we have golf carts to take you around Old Town. But I would recommend renting a car. We have a great rental car service at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. And then also we have some hotels that actually have rental services on site. So you kind of have a few options, and then that kind of helps it. So if you wanted to tour and see other parts of Arizona or the Southwest US, you already have your car ready to go. So that's how I'd recommend getting around. And by, obviously tours like Ken's, you can get into the desert that way.
Well, of course, yeah, absolutely. And then, like you said as well, the city itself is so walkable. So it's not like you're going to be trapped in your car the whole time either. Brilliant. Ken, we've been asked, does Stellar Expeditions do camping tours, and do you do photography tours?
We just about all the Hummer tours are photography tours. I mean, we stop multiple times. Every time there's a good view, we stop and take pictures. It's not a rush tour. We have plenty of time. So I get a lot of cameras, a lot of, everywhere from phones to Nikons and Canons out there. Our ATV, UTV tours and the Hummer tours, the guides will take lots of pictures. And all the pictures that we take, we upload to a website at the end of the day, and our guests have access to download them and keep them for themselves. So, but yeah, we don't have a tour that is specifically just for photography, but any of the Hummer tours can be a photography tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. What about camping? Can you arrange camping tours?
We do not arrange camping, but there is camping available in our deserts.
Yeah.
And I believe there are a couple outfitters that are doing that.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, as I said,
we have
it's not
some,
like
Lynne.
yeah.
Just to jump in, so we do have partners that are located here that are able to provide those camping tours, and they can do one night or multi-night tours available.
Yeah, terrific. Because I can imagine some people definitely would fancy that, waking up in the desert. And Emily, while I've got you as well, have you got a recommendation for hotels for a family?
So we have a lot of different hotel options for families. I think it depends on what the age of the kid is and what they're looking for. So, I mean, there's some hotels with 3-story water slides, lazy rivers, beaches, kids programs where actually they'll learn about Native American culture or the desert while maybe mom and dad have a little bit of a break. So we've got lots of different options from all different tiers, 3, 4, 5-star options throughout Scottsdale. It's very hard to have one. I know we have some links that we'll send out afterwards for, kids guides as well as where to stay for families.
Brilliant. Thank you. Ruby, so as a Brit, I'm going to ask you this one. When do you think the best time is to go? When do you recommend people to go?
Okay, well, the heat of the summer months, it does get hot. There's no question, but it's a dry heat, so you don't have to sit out in 108 degrees Fahrenheit at 2 o'clock in an afternoon. There are many other things that you can go and do, and as if you're there in the summer months, which is when school holidays happen, and you want to get away from the heat of the desert, there's many other things that you can do to get you away from there. May, June, probably early June, and then I would say October, early November would be two of my favorite times to be there. Climate-wise, the desert's beautiful.
Yeah.
We've already talked about sunrises and sunsets. It's also not too busy. The desert, Scottsdale gets quite busy in the winter months of December through to Easter usually, because that's when all the snowbirds from Canada and the northeastern states of the United States come down into the valley, so that they're not freezing to death in 6 foot of snow.
We should explain for people that snowbird's not a type of bird.
No, sorry, yeah, no. What we affectionately call the New Yorkers and the Chicagoans that come down into Scottsdale in the winter months to get away from their horrible weather. So yeah, May, early June, certainly fabulous time to be there, and October, early November. But you know what? Any time of year is great to be in Scottsdale. It really is. And so if it's a family and they can only go in the summer months, as long as they take, plenty of sunscreen, always have plenty of water with you, and don't do silly things like sit out by the pool at 2 p.m, then you really don't have to worry about what time of year that you're there.
Okay,
it does get cool in the evenings in the winter months. I think that's what a lot of people are surprised about. I've been there in January and thrown the door back at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's been, whoa, feels as if I'm back in Leeds. But it warms up, because by 11, 12 o'clock, it can be 70 degrees, like a day that Emily's experiencing today. Yeah. And then it cools down again in the evenings. But the desert holds its heat in the summer months. So you can be sitting outside at 10 o'clock at night, and it can still be 80 degrees. But, you can sit outside, have a barbecue, just watch the stars. What more do you want? It's perfect.
Yeah, it sounds great. Ken, still on when to go, is there a particular time you would recommend from a wildlife or flora type of?
Flora and fauna, definitely any time between the toward the middle of April through the end of May. That's when our desert is in bloom, and then and the same way, of course, the animals are all they start. They're quite prevalent in the springtime, and then again, October, November is a real good time for the desert, because our rains have come in, so everything is just, the desert just activates itself around rain. You can literally go out there a day when it hasn't rained for a while and watch the desert just come alive after a rain. So we get about half of our year's rain we get in August and September. And so October, November is usually a real fine time to come out, and the weather's the weather's just perfect usually about then.
Oh, well, that sounds really good. And I know that October is definitely one of the favourite months for our readers. Emily, anything to add to that before I ask you something else?
Yeah, so for me, I'll just say my favorite month is May because it's warm. That's when the saguaro blooms, which is my favorite because it looks like little hats. But I would also say winter. So obviously, I kind of was scrolling the chat, and I know that there's a potential you guys can come to the US as early as this winter, hopefully. And there's something special about winter in the desert. You get all of the cacti with Christmas lights and little hats and like Santa hats, and we have all of these amazing events. There's ice skating. Honestly, I personally love the holiday time, and it's really, really unique and special here. So that was the only one people didn't mention, so I figured I'd throw that one in there too.
Yeah, well, we'd never have thought of that. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh gosh. And I think people as well, looking at the chat, people have been, somebody's saying I'm sold. Yeah, it's I think people didn't realize there was just so much to see and do. Very quickly, Emily, because I think we are going to have to finish soon. And actually, the rest of you have been thinking, because somebody asked about, which I think came in privately, was each of yours recommendation for maybe one or two things that you would recommend personally that somebody does. So we'll come on to that in a minute. But Emily, very quickly, what about people with mobility issues? Is Scottsdale okay for them?
Yeah, it's very accessible. So whether you're staying at one of our resorts, whether you're out in the desert, whether you are doing, experiences such as museums, we have ADA accessible, the pools, even to get into the pools and take advantage of the sunshine. I know a lot of our hotels have it. We have detailed information available. I know I mentioned it during my presentation, but even in the preserve, you can go on an ADA accessible hike, which I think that speaks to the destination that we're very welcoming. I don't know if Ken wants to add anything in addition to that, but I know for sure, getting around Old Town, getting around hotels, getting out into our desert shops, etc., there is plenty of options for you.
Yeah, Ken, anything to add to that?
I'd have to agree. It's the whole area as a whole is very accessible. There's even like in the Mcdowell Mountain Reserve, there's areas that are wheelchair accessible to hike in a wheelchair. Of course, we'll and us as a company, I've taken multiple people out in the Hummer tours that have had disabilities. So it's very accessible, I think.
Oh, that's great news. So yeah, I think sadly we really are running out of time. So I want from each of you a couple of recommendations for what would be your top tips for something to see or do. So I'm going to let you have a 2 each. But who's going to go first? Oh gosh, Ken, let's start with you.
Well, of course, my personal preference is get out in our desert. Whether it's a tour or just a hike, it's if you're going to come out to Scottsdale, get out and experience the desert. I mean, because that's what we're all about. And the other thing we have, as Emily mentioned, Camelback Mountain, Piestewa Peak. We have right in town, we have some great hikes. And but for people that aren't really used to mountain hiking, another thing that Emily mentioned in her presentation, if you just want to go out and walk around for a while, the Desert Botanical Museum is the place to do it because it's all flat walking and it's absolutely beautiful. They have all of our cactus from our desert, and they also have cactus and plants from other deserts around the world. So it's a pretty neat place.
Oh, sounds it. Oh, yeah, right. I want to get there. Ruby, what about you?
Well, I'm still one of Ken's. The desert, the mountains, it's just spectacular. So that would definitely be my number one you must do when you're in Scottsdale. Yeah. And what's another one? Okay, just soak into the lifestyle. The Scottsdale lifestyle is, I think, quite unique. And if you're there in the summer months, you can do a morning hike. You can, by lunchtime, when it's getting too warm, go and do some shopping, have a nice long lunch. By the time you finish that, it's time for the pool, enjoy the sunset, have a barbecue, One
a pretty good pear margarita. I like the thought of that.
That's right. That's right.
And another thing, if I can have three. The other one is one of Emily and my shared passions is gin. And there's some great gin tours and wine tours and also beer tours that you can do in the Scottsdale area. So they would be my three things that you should do. But the desert flies way above everything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely, the desert. And yeah, I mean, when I come, I want a recommendation, Emily, for horseback riding, because that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do there when I come back. Anyway, so come on, Emily, what are your two?
Okay, so I had time to think. I, like Ruby and Ken, will say the Sonoran Desert. I know it sounds like we're just saying it over and over again. It's because it is so magical. It is so unique. It is so beautiful. It is so special. So, whether it's doing hot air balloon, kayaking, stargazing, Hummer tour, ATV, whatever way you do it, horseback riding, do it. Get out to the desert. So that's number one. And then for me, number two, and it's kind of cheating, Ruby, so this way I don't have to have three, is Old Town. I live it. I love it. The reason it is so special is because you're in the heart of a city. And I saw a question in the chat. We have like 260,000 residents in Scottsdale. That's it. But you feel like you're in a small town where everyone knows everyone, but yet you're also in this huge, big city without being in a big city. You can walk in Old Town and see stars as you walk out of a place where you have some of that gin Ruby talked about. So Old Town for me, if you have to come and you can only pick two, go to Old Town. Whatever your poison is, whether it's food, drinks, museums, galleries, shopping, do that. And then make sure you get out in that desert.
Ah, what a combo. I think you've summed that up brilliantly. So thank you so much. So thank you to all three of you. It's been, well, we've gotten loads of lovely remarks, including some of the private ones, about how interesting it's been and fascinating. Lots of people are going to be heading your way, which is brilliant. And as a reminder, everybody watching, yes, we are going to be sharing the links and the recording of tonight and everything else. And so you'll be able to get loads more information. But anyway, thank you to our wonderful speakers tonight. Thank you. That's been so interesting. And hopefully see you in Scottsdale sometime.
Thanks, everybody. Come see us in the desert.
Thank you.
We will. Go on your tour. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.